Hi everyone, Thiago here. So today we're going to be looking at some licks for metal guitar using the Phrygian mode. So let's dive into it. First things first, we have to tell you what a Phrygian mode is. Phrygian mode it's derived from a major scale. It comes from the third degree of the scale. So if you have a C major scale, third note is going to be an E. So it's like C, D, E, third degree, which is a major third. So the E, the scale is going to start with an E and finish with an E. So it's going to be E, F, G, A, B, C, D. So if you look at intervals, it's going to be root, minor second, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor sixth, and minor seventh. So in practice, what that gives us, it's a minor scale but with a minor second, which does give it like an oriental type of feeling. It also sounds a lot like Spanish music. So if we play an E Phrygian, it's going to sound like this. And that minor second gives it its flavor. Right. So, having said that, it's very common in metal music to have Phrygian rhythm guitars, Phrygian riffs, especially since it kind of works within that genre. So it's like, and many times more than often, very often, you can go and, I don't know, if you're gonna audition for a band, sometimes they have these types of riffs and they have to come up with a solo and stuff. So instead of going and saying, oh, I'll just play the pentatonic and blues stuff, we can use the Phrygian mode in a very effective manner. Having said that, we also got what we call the Phrygian Dominant, which is based off the harmonic minor scale. So I have like it comes off the fifth degree out of the harmonic minor scale. So if you have an A harmonic minor, you're going to have what we call an E Phrygian. Sometimes it's called Phrygian major, sometimes it's called a Phrygian dominant. So if we have the minor, harmonic minor scale like this. So we have the dominant Phrygian coming here in the E note, which is the fifth degree. So it's a scale that it's kind of like, we use it a lot alongside the Phrygian mode, and it gives it its flavor. You can use either one of those in this specific manner, and they work both fine. And it's called Phrygian Dominant for a reason. Here's a fact. We have a major third on this mode, which is the G sharp, sorry. And we also have the minor seventh, which is a D. So it's kind of like the same flavor as a dominant seventh chord. So, and because it's also have a minor second, and you have the major third and minor seventh, so that's called the Phrygian Dominant. So it works. Also in this type of sounds and licks, you can also add chromatic passing notes, which I use pretty often, and they have an interesting effect and they work pretty well within these types of solos and riffs. And you can also use a dominant diminished scale, which we can eventually have to talk about that. But in the meantime, just pay attention to all the types of scales and sounds you can extract from Phrygian metal licks. So let's go. First example, it's almost like an entire solo in C sharp Phrygian. So let's break it down. So we began using like the half steps, which give it its very characteristic sound, which is the minor second, and also the minor sixth. So you have these two half steps, and they have quite a unique sound. And we can stop here on the E, E sharp, which is a major third. So this is, it's a very, very strong chord tone you can use under phrasing. And then you have the semi-quaver scale going down from the C sharp, going down to the 2 octaves. And then we go into sweep picking licks, which go from the 2 major triads. The C sharp triad, and then the D major triad. So that kind of, it's almost like a complete solo. So you have several things here: alternate picking, some intervallic, octave displacements, and a sweep picking pattern at the end of it. Something else that you can also use within this realm is a diminished arpeggio, because they kind of fit in well with the diminished, with dominant Phrygian sound. So, having said that, the diminished arpeggio is this guy here. So, what you can do to make it more interesting is also add some chromatic passing notes. That's something I picked up from both jazz and also by looking at the playing of guys like Jeff Loomis, because they do this a lot. So you add some chromatic passing notes in the 3rd and 1st string. The 1st string here. Then you go to the rest of the arpeggio, and then you add those chromatic passing tones. It's gonna sound a little bit more jazzy, but it's gonna have an interesting flavor to it. Next example is a way of showing that you can do the same type of phrasing, the same type of pattern, but with a different type of rhythmic pattern and also a different type of technique. So in this case, we're going to do the same one we did the last time, but this time we're going to use it in 8th notes, which are going to be like a lot slower, and we're going to do an alternate picking. So it kind of changes totally the sound. So instead of going with a legato, and we're going to use the 8th notes. So it's a very interesting thing. For metal players, sometimes we tend to play fast, sweep picking lines, and they're great. There's nothing wrong with those, but you can also use the same arpeggios like in half speed and with alternate picking, and they have a very interesting, sometimes very melodic, and it can give it like a different flavor, and it won't sound boring and repetitive. So you have something else on your set of skills. And you can repeat it like 1.5 step. the next pattern is gonna be just like a straight C Phrygian scale, but the difference is we're gonna do this scale pattern which is on triplets and not too fast, but this sounds pretty interesting and pretty melodic. So instead of doing the scale, just we're gonna do it on this triplet pattern. So it combines legato and alternate picking. So now we're going to do something which we find very interesting on the guitar, because a way of moving up the neck is going through what I call scale fragments, but you can take one and whatever scale, arpeggio, or any type of pattern and just replicate it an octave up. So let's say we have this thing here, and you can just replicate it here or here. So the idea is on this one, it's using this pattern here, which does have a continued tapping note. So here's a trick. There's two things which can be a little bit of a challenge. First one is making this personal to sound, and you're gonna have to hammer into it like it's just like the left hand is gonna do the work. And the second thing is to make it sound like a complete flow of notes with no interruptions. Because sometimes, as we have like a position change, and we have to go to this note pretty quickly, and that can be a little bit of a challenge. And sometimes people can do these things which are going to sound like. Oops. Sometimes people can go and do things which won't sound very cohesive. So the challenge is to make those little fragments to sound just like a complete line. The next one is going to be a more melodic arpeggio, which is going to explore some minor seconds. According to the roots, we're going to be again on E Phrygian pattern, which is going to use some diminished lines, some diminished sounds. There's going to be like a flat fifth and a major third combined with a minor third, which comes from the dominant diminished scale. So we're going to mix those two up. One is gonna be kind of like a lick that I stole from Kiko Loureiro from Megadeth. That's when he was in the beginning of his career with Angra. So this lick is gonna be a little bit going from the Phrygian Dominant scale, and we're gonna do some leaps and bounds, and I adapted from it. and it's gonna end up with a more melodic playing. So the next one is gonna be like a more melodic type of lick, which is stole a little bit from Kiko from Angra on his original idea. He took several skips and jumps from and the guitar neck, and it went from one region to the other, which was something which sounded like this. And we're gonna do a little bit more of melodic playing, and we're gonna end up with a melodic Phrygian line. Next one is gonna be like a big sweep picking thing with a 6-note arpeggio, kind of like in the style of Jason Becker. So we have two triads, the E major and the F major. So we're gonna do like this pattern with these two notes, these two chords. Sorry. Pretty fun. Another variation of those sweep picking ideas is when you take an arpeggio and you do different iterations of it. So we can do something like this. So you take these three arpeggio shapes and you can link them up. Now we're going to take the first lick we tried, which was using all those minor seconds in this Phrygian mode. We're going to do it in E, so we can also have like a more melodic or even faster type of play. Okay, so it's next one is a pretty conventional type of pattern using triplets. Next one is a lick in the style of the great Michael Romeo from Symphony X. It's a type of Phrygian arpeggio, I would say, using string skipping and tapping. So again, the challenge is to make the first note of each group of each string to sound. So if you pick it apart, it's going to be like this. And the next string. And then you can do a little pattern using the two top strings. maybe some sort of Phrygian Dominant arpeggio I came up with, which is a more melodic arpeggio, and you have a root, fifth, minor second, which gives it its flavor, and major third, and then you're gonna go up on these. So in these, let's say, these legato patterns. So people, hope you like this video. Hope these ideas brings you some different approaches to playing licks over metal riffs with only one chord, and maybe doing something different, something interesting. And I hope you come up with something. See you next time.